This is clearly not the real CNN 10. CNN 10 ended in May, but we're still in school and there's still news. So we're going to do the news this way this week. Our first story is coming out of Connecticut from CBS 2, and it talks about the reopening of the phase 2 reopening of the state of Connecticut.
And Connecticut is planning for its phase 2 on June 17th. And today, Governor Ned Lamont issued rules for the plan. Certain businesses will be able to open at 50% capacity, including outdoor and indoor dining, gyms, theaters, libraries, and indoor recreation. Hotels and amusement parks can also reopen, but under strict social distancing and sanitizing rules. People at outdoor events will have to wear masks. Residents over the age of 65 or anyone with a health condition are still urged to stay home.
So what does that mean for our schools? Well, at Park City Prep, we're not sure yet. We're going to wait and watch the news and see how things develop over the summer. We pay attention to what develops on the news and from letters that go home from Mr. Ravitch to your parents to get more information about how September will look like. Will we be distance learning? Will we be in the building? Maybe some of us in the building, but not all of us. It's going to be very dependent on what happens with COVID-19. So please pay attention to what's going on. As we move on to our next story, there was protests in the streets and riots in the streets following the death of George Floyd. And his brother, Felonious Floyd, went to Congress to talk about how they need to pass legislation so that his brother didn't die in vain. And he really hopes that they honor his brother by passing laws to protect people like him.
We will begin with Mr. Floyd. Felonious Floyd is the brother of George Floyd, who was killed by Minneapolis police officers on May 25th. Mr. Floyd has spoken eloquently about his brother's life, and we appreciate his being with us today, having flown to Washington to testify before us today directly from his brother's funeral in Houston yesterday. We are all so sorry for your loss. Mr. Floyd, you may begin.
Chairman Gerald Nadler and members of the committee, thank you for the invitation here today to talk about my big brother, George. The world knows him as George, but I called him Perry. Yesterday, we laid him to rest. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do. I'm the big brother now, so it's my job to comfort my brothers and my sisters, Perry's, care of the family and others. I couldn't take care of George that day he was killed, but maybe by speaking with you today, I can make sure that his death will not be in vain. To make sure that he is more than another face on a t-shirt, more than another name on a list that won't stop growing. Please listen to the call I'm making to you now, to the calls of our family and the calls ringing out the streets across the world. People of all backgrounds, genders, and races have come together to demand change. Honor them, honor George, and make the necessary changes that make law enforcement the solution and not the problem. Hold them accountable when they do something wrong. Teach them what it means to treat people with empathy and respect. Teach them what necessary force is. Teach them that deadly force should be used rarely and only when life is at risk.
Now time for 10-ish second trivia. What place did this picture of a protester stopping tanks after military broke up a peaceful protest for democracy? A. Central Park. B. Berlin Wall. C. Tiananmen Square. D. Kiev's main square. 10 seconds are up. Tiananmen Square is the answer, and it goes into today's story.
The pandemic transformed a company that you probably only heard of if you used it for work into this.
To be your lawfully wedded wife.
Zoom is everywhere.
Their adoption hearing via Zoom.
Celebrating Passover.
As the world woke up needing a fast and easy way to communicate, to go to school, to get married, Zoom became the go-to choice. According to Zoom, its daily meetings are up 6,000% since December.
Live from Zoom, it's sometime between March and August.
But with ubiquity comes scrutiny.
The FBI has warned about a rise in so-called Zoom bombings.
It's also been a recent target for cyber attacks. Our work meetings, they are vulnerable to hackers.
I sat down with Zoom CEO Eric Yuan over Zoom, naturally, to talk about how he's adjusted to running what's become one of the most scrutinized companies in the world.
Let me ask you about your life right now. Just what is your life? What is your day like? What is your routine like?
I only do three things: sleep, eat, and Zoom.
Eric and his team have been busy. The pandemic and the attention and the traffic that followed exposed serious problem with Zoom security and privacy. There were stories about Zoom bombing or weak encryption, but some of its data was routed through China. And when UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson tweeted out this photo of his first virtual cabinet meeting, powered, of course, by Zoom, in the photo, the meeting ID was visible. Now, the cabinet meeting was password protected, so people couldn't just go into it. But in a different meeting that wasn't password protected, having the meeting ID visible could lead to it being virtually crashed. Zoom bombed.
I want to ask you about the security issue, and specifically when Boris Johnson tweeted out that photo. What went through your head when you saw that for the first time?
I just feel bad, actually, as a product manager. I blame myself. Seriously, I saw this. Why do we need to show meeting ID? The reason why we want to end user know the ID can tell others easily to join. But did we think about privacy? No, that's just the problem. That's why when I saw that picture, I realized privacy and security first, and then usability.
This is Bill Marzak. He discovered and published some of the most glaring Zoom security flaws.
You can kind of see both in Eric's statements as well as the design of the app and even the name of the app, Zoom. Their main priority, at least before all these security vulnerabilities were announced, was making the user experience as fast and as seamless as possible, reducing friction, reducing number of clicks, making the user interface very intuitive, making things, quote unquote, just work in the app.
According to Zoom, they've been working hard to try to solve some of these problems that have been uncovered. They've instituted a 90-day product freeze, they've hired some top security experts, and they've already released some patches to fix uncovered problems. But Zoom's ties to China are also being scrutinized. Now, Zoom is an American company that's listed on NASDAQ, and its headquarters are in San Jose, but it does have 700 employees in China, its R&D department. And in April, Citizen Lab reported that some of Zoom's data was being routed through China. Zoom says that it had added those servers to handle its spiking traffic and that it was a mistake and it won't happen again. But in response to Citizen Lab's reporting, some institutions have now banned their employees from using Zoom.
People think we can do Congress by Zoom. Zoom is a Chinese entity that we've been told not to even trust the security of.
Nancy Pelosi was on Chris Hayes, and she described Zoom as a Chinese entity. How would you respond to that?
Our team is working on that. It's a misunderstanding. And she already knew that now. We are going to have a meeting, and yes, somebody sent the wrong information. Her office already knew that. We are an American company. I'm a Chinese American. I live here in 1997.
Do you think any of the perceptions of Zoom as a Chinese company are on some level xenophobic because of your background as a Chinese immigrant, now American?
It's likely, but actually, I keep everything open, transparent. I'm a Chinese American, and for now, it's our problem. Maybe we do not communicate well. Why don't we communicate with them before, right? Because I was very busy. Why don't I meet with Nancy Pelosi before, right? This is still our problem.
How does it feel to ascend to the height of your success at this point in your life while the world is going through such a tumultuous time?
I do not think we are successful. We are still in the middle of the crisis. The last 2 weeks in my career, I'm age 50. That's the most stressful time. I had several days sleepless night because of pressure. Look at the employee, look at the customer, and you explain to them. I just feel like we let them down.
10 out of 10. So Mr. Van Etten was going into his backyard and he came across this deer just hanging out underneath his swing set slide for his kids. Oh dear, why is it the deer under the slide? Maybe he's fond with it. Maybe he loved it dearly. I have no idea. but if I had any dough, I'd bet $1 it left after he went to take some pictures of it. Here's hoping this deer goes down in history. He definitely was able to stay out of any rain. This was CNN 10-ish. I almost got 10 puns. I don't think so. Go back and check, count them out if you want to. Thanks for joining me. Have a great weekend.